call the meeting to order at 6:50. I see Tricia Goldman is not here.
She's still in her other meeting right now.
Do you want to table that?
Yeah, the table
Until she,
Right.
okay. When Tricia gets here.
I know they were just re-entering back again.
All right, do we have any board member issues?
Yeah, I asked Terry what was happening. I got a call and they tell me they're going to change the bus garage, how they set up the runs from what was established. I was confused. I just wondered why the reason for that, because, I mean, that was requested by Bill and Jim Harper, worked hard at it to get it. And it was a very fair solution to all the drivers, and they've been happy with it for almost 20 years. Why change it now?
Tom, do you know if the person who spoke to you had been through the procedure of how this should be discussed? Do you know if they had talked to their supervisor and then to Ms.
I don't
Kelly?
know.
Okay.
They have not.
All right.
No one's come to me.
I will tell you, I'm reluctant to talk about it, Tom. I know it's very difficult when people come to us and ask us individually for information, but I think before we can speak about it, we need to make sure that it's gone through the proper channels. A lot of times when we get information like that, we don't have all the information, and until they've spoken to Sue, and Sue understands what their questions are, it's hard for us to get the full picture. We're only gonna get a little bit of it. So if they would please contact Sue and work through that, and then if they're not satisfied with how it moves forward, then Sue can certainly bring it, and actually they can certainly bring it to the board level. But I think we do have to move back into the procedures that are set forward for the board, and to make sure that it does follow through the proper channels. For one thing, it'll give us all of the information instead of just, you get a little bit, somebody gets a little bit. This way, when they all come and talk about it at the board, then we can all discuss it together with good information.
One reason why I called Terry, and she was gonna talk to Sue and see if there was
Yeah,
any to it or not, or
right.
whatever.
I don't think it's gone any further than that, because I don't think they have brought it to you yet. Is that correct?
No employee has brought it to me. Frank and I have been dealing with it, as well as I set up a meeting with Lauren, NICET, Martha, and their union.
Okay, so you're working
We got
through it with the union.
Correct.
With proper channels. And I think we do.
but
need
only
to
dealing
go
with it
through-
through Frank.
Yeah, if we can, make sure that we get people back into the proper procedure. Do you have anything else? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 22nd, 2013 meeting? Lynn?
Second.
Chris? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Can I have a motion to accept the following warrant on file in the business office?
So.
Reggie? Joe?
Change my first and last.
I've got John written here.
That's my brother.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. I need a motion to accept the claims auditor reports dated May 8th, 2013, and they are on file in the business office. Lynn?
Second.
Chris? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, I need a motion to accept the revised policy 6130, the evaluation of personnel for the APPR as presented. Do you want to talk about that, Sue?
Okay.
Okay,
Reggie,
Reggie.
Fowler,
All in favor?
What we're gonna say?
All in favor.
Sorry.
All right. Help me out here, that's why you're here. Yes.
So I'm assuming this is all the unions.
This is what we talked about actually several weeks ago. So as far as going through the union, it's not in the APPR itself, it's the school's policy for the APPR. So it's not through the union, you know what I mean? It's not part of the plan. It's just talking about how we will notify parents. Like I said, gosh, I want to say 6 weeks ago or whatever is when we talked about it, but they just, Gary Bosey says just revised the plan. But we knew that it was coming.
Unions aware of it.
Yes,
Nothing's out of line.
no, not at all.
It's-
No, if you're, well, I know you're a teacher, but for those who don't know, there was kind of a whole, question raised of how are people going to know, how are people, parents going to find out? And we talked about it a couple weeks ago by saying, parents can request, they will be given a teacher score, but not everybody can request or ask for it. It's, nothing we're going to post. We are going to do it in a verbal way, and it has to be the particular parent of the child within the classroom. And it's, what we're trying to avoid is going back to where we used to have, 45 requests for one teacher, that type of thing. So that it's to help work with limiting those types of situations. And it also is limiting to the only information that we have to provide is the actual score, not the breakdown of it, not how it's accumulated, not their personal evaluations, just the score.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I see Tricia is here.
Hi.
Tricia, I'm going to let you go ahead and.
Thank you.
Yep.
I am one of the co-advisors for the 8th grade, along with Shelley Grimshaw. We just found out when all the budget things are happening that there is money set aside for the 8th grade trip. And we were wondering what the process is to help get that money for our students. Our students are actually very responsible kids. They actually took the cheapest trip, and they knew that it's hard to fundraise, especially with the seniors fundraising and everybody else fundraising. They opted to try not to do a second night because they knew it would be really hard maybe to fundraise to make all that money for a second night. So the parents offered to pay for a second night, but some of our families can't afford to pitch in an extra $50 for that second night. We have some students that may not be able to go now because they're not sure if they're gonna have money because they have to pay for their lunches for the 2 days that we are gone. So I didn't know the process of what we need to do to get it. I don't know the budget the way it is it still available for?
What that money is, it actually comes through BOCES COSER. The only thing that can be refunded or is trips that are educational in nature and they have to be approved. So for example, going to an art museum may or may not be approved. Obviously going to a ball game, past thing used to be approved, it no longer is. It's really cut down what can and can't be approved.
Our trip, one of the main things, because we knew that their educational part of it, we are going to the Gettysburg Museum. We're spending a whole day at Gettysburg between the battlefield, the cyclorama, and the Wax Museum.
So I will get you the paperwork, you'll have to turn in those things and we can talk to the BOCES person in charge of that.
Okay, so it's necessarily money that we get now for the trip, it's just money you get paid back?
Reimbursed.
Right.
Your class
It's
has
not
to put
money
it out
that's set
initially.
aside.
Okay, because I was understanding, I talked to all the class advisors because we're like, wow, where did this come up from? Because we had no clue. And somebody did say that they got extra money to help them with their trip.
If they did, I don't know who it is. The only monies is for specific events.
Right, it's
Okay.
a
Coaster.
reimbursement that we get.
But the class always puts money out ahead. It's not to do with, it can't be any food activities, can't be housing, anything like that.
I saw on a little budget thing from school, it said $5,000 set aside for our 8th grade trip in Close-Up.
It is. It's set aside to do through the COSER process in BOCES.
Okay.
It's not just $5,000. It goes into the COSER and whatever is approved.
Okay, so you do, so we could get reimbursed to help with,
If the COSER approves it, which goes through state ed, it's not us.
okay.
And they become much more, they scrutinize exactly what you do, and it brought the parameters down where you have to be very careful on what you label, what you do, and make sure that it falls into those categories. Then, when we send it in, we will get reimbursed for those things that you did
Okay.
that are that thing.
So we could get our money back, maybe some money back, but we want to see it to help us with our trip.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Because that,
Would have been better than Gettysburg as far as
I would not project
But I
or guess,
remember
and
you
no,
telling us
because
that-
it used to be they do all types of theater shows,
Yeah,
productions,
yeah.
arts and education, all gone.
Yeah.
Going
we
to
knew it was
museums,
pretty,
gone.
Yeah.
we knew that some, it could be reimbursed, some stuff could be reimbursed. We were under the impression how everything was out there, it sounded like the school set aside money
No.
to help.
It's through a coaster program. And it's
Okay.
up to $5,000 for both of those programs.
Okay, so you had the paperwork that? or-
No, but I mean, we'll get you the paperwork.
Okay, because that's one of the things we picked Gettysburg for, was because we knew it was, we were hoping it'd be educational enough that they would.
Right. Again, it's not our say at all.
Okay, thank you, sorry to bother you.
No bother.
Thank you.
What happens when
It's a great place to go.
Can we use it on next year's?
And it's, I mean, it used to be almost anything that's approved, it's, it's nominated.
When is it?
I'm sorry.
When is it?
When is the trip? June 17th? 17th or 18th? Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. Anywhere near the money from the meeting, yeah.
I can't agree.
Do they have money that they need, or?
Trish,
Yes.
how are you financially?
We did make it, but, we kind of wanted to have that second night for the kids, just because we are so jam-packed, we're not getting back to 1 o'clock in the morning, because we couldn't afford to have the other night to stay over. And so,
Trish, when do you plan to present the whole trip, your chaperones, your,
we have all that stuff, I have it up in the room, I just have to finish typing it up, because I thought I had to have it in by Wednesday before the board meeting, and I keep forgetting to bring it down the Wednesday before the board
so
meeting.
are you doing it at the next board meeting? is what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Yep. And the majority of the people on the trip are all affiliated with the school. So, thank you.
I can't hear you. That thing is really loud.
Need a board. Need a room with no vending machines and fans.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead to the next resolution. I need a motion to accept the revised policy of 7210, the student evaluation as follows.
Thanks, Lee.
We're down to the next policy. 7210.
This deals with, similar to the ABPR, but it deals with actual student evaluation placement of students, which again is, we do not already accept parents' requests for teachers because we only have 2 teachers at each grade level, and sometimes 3 at kindergarten. The only thing, again, that we are changing is that they're taking out of the policy that was originally put in, that parents can request in writing for a particular teacher. But that is not something that we currently allow. So that is, we were asking to have it removed from the policy.
This hasn't been allowed for how long?
9 years that I've been here. Well, now I take 8 years. The first year they could, but when we dropped 2 classes, I mean, you just can't, honor everybody's request. And it's the same thing that happened within the kindergarten. It's everybody 1 a day. So, it is. So we just went to no requests, no you know, and kind of set it up geographically for the kindergarten.
I can see the plan going for the most part.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. I need a motion to approve a merger with Canton Central School for the 2013-14 school year for the purpose of football at no expense to the district.
How many students?
We haven't even got as far as the students yet because of how late it is. The rules and regulations have just changed within New York State. If you remember, we've battled this for the last several years. It's no longer the responsibility of staff or of the school to have to transport students to the district that you choose to merge with. So with that change, Lori's making the recommendation that we allow mergers, again, at no expense to the school district. Three of the districts I spoke to, what they do is, for example, I know football is going to be between $200 and $225 per student. They have the parent give that money to the booster club. The booster club in turn turns it over to the school. The school then, you know, pays. That all the fees need to be paid in advance. So again, it's no expense to the district. But I know 2 years ago, we had 7 or 8 students that wanted to play football. And Canton will not have a football team if we do not have this merger. So they were very excited and would like to offer other sports to us. They just knew that football was one of the biggest. So knowing that many parents would probably support it and want it, we're bringing it to the table kind of quickly. Lori will get the actual paperwork, and it still has time to get through the process to be able to allow the students to play football in the fall.
Have we sent kids in the past to football?
Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Yep.
Wasn't there a requirement that says that they couldn't go in personal vehicles?
Yes.
That's a state ed thing?
That's all changed.
Well, that's changed.
That's no longer a requirement, but a mandate. So they're totally responsible for transporting themselves,
Good.
which is, you know,
That was
it
the big
makes
thing
it
that we had to tell them no on last time.
great. So that's why I said I was so tempted to call a couple of parents that I know were desperate, you know, for this, but I know that we'll probably end up with other requests. One of the things that I'd like to talk about though is so that we don't damage our own sports teams, to try it for 1 year and not just say it's an open guarantee. Because if, for example, we end up with not a soccer team because we have 15 people go over to football, we need to consider that. But I don't know where it will go. But I do know many students come spring will probably want to go play lacrosse, and that could damage our baseball team. So that's just something to think about. But I certainly think it's a great opportunity for kids to get to have this.
Will that be in the newsletter, so people that were interested in the past?
Probably what we'll do, because it'll be quicker, the newsletter's not coming out for quite some time, is do our phone tree service to all parents. And I know as soon as it's announced at school that's approved, the kids will be signed up on the door, you know, where they put fall sports.
Well, I'm just thinking of the parents that we had to tell that no to, and I remember saying in particular, I meant you spoke, said, if this things change in the past, we'll notify you. So-
Right, and I mean, I have a group easily of 5 parents I know that have asked and asked. So, but I said, as soon as this is announced in the phys ed classes and they can sign up, it'll be rampant through the school.
So the district is not responsible in any way for transportation whatsoever?
No,
And if something happened, you can transport there or here?
No
to or
liability.
from, No liability?
What if the procedure for payment to the Canton school is not followed correctly? Could we possibly be responsible for those students' fees?
yes.
All right, so we need to make sure
How would that work?
how we're
Well,
gonna proceed with
What
that.
other districts
have
are
to be
doing is
paid.
setting a deadline, the money has to be paid to the booster club by, which is before practice starts. And then if the student, if that, you know, obligation has not been met, then they can't attend practice.
So the fee has to be paid in advance.
Yes,
So I'm assuming that if you will receive, then the kid will not. go.
right.
Does the student have to be approved from here to go there? Or could the student just walk over to Canton and say, I'm from Edwards and we have a merger and I'm gonna play football?
Well, unfortunately, we had that problem, if you remember, 3 or 4 years ago. So we're going to have to work with whoever our new AD is and who their current AD, I don't know if it will be Bill Porter next year, and say that, no one signs up until it goes through our school. They don't just get to, show up at the field,
Right.
because that was the problem we had.
Have a paper trail that's very clear.
Yes, because we also have to make sure they have their physicals, they have, especially like football, that they've been, school
Right.
physicals and all the paperwork is there for them
Do
ahead.
we have to certify that?
Yes, the school physical will be the same, sports physical.
Okay.
If a student is injured in football, which school is responsible for the insurance?
I believe it'll go under our school's liability insurance.
Well, we tried for a year.
Which is very difficult, because we'll be liable, but you don't know what that coach over there is doing with them.
Hopefully they can't done their job.
We've had that.
They've had that program
For a long time.
years.
That's a two-way street.
Right.
That
We had students come
Probably
for
will,
swimming,
right.
we've had students come
Yeah.
marching band, we've had,
goes with the territory.
Well, as long as we're all aware that those are the risks and that's what we
And-
may face.
one of the things within each sport at Canton, they do have different fees, a rotational fee. And at some point, if somebody chooses to, that they would prefer to merge with Governor, we'll have to consider that as well. 'Cause obviously, it depends which end of the district you live at, where your parents might be willing to transport you to.
Is there anything that guarantees if parents are transporting these students, and students are transporting other students?
It's not any of our concern. So if 6 kids get in a car, the district is not liable.
It's very
If
scary.
we're liable for the insurance, why aren't we liable for the accidents that happen if we sponsor them going there?
All I can say is that that changed, I talked to Carl Normandin, I asked him to actually send me the specific changes. He said it's all out of there, I said, I'd like to see it, I have not gotten it, he guarantees. Kate did try to contact Andy Silver to get something as a follow-up, and I understand he had nothing.
Could you have maybe, hopefully?
I mean, if the ball's in his court, we asked him for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't, maybe we should wait until we get something in the document stating such.
100% sure that's the case.
Is this gonna be a problem if we wait on this timeline?
Yes, can we put it with the pending approval
Yeah, that's fine.
Confirmation
of legality?
legality transport.
Pending review by legal.
How are you gonna
Is
say
that
that?
what
Kate?
you're asking? That this motion read pending review by legal?
I think so. Was that cover it?
And Reggie and Joe are good with that?
Cover their bases.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Can we have the reports from the principal?
Sure.